reshuffle that probably will be influenced by loyalties, and of course that depends on whether it's to the current president or his deputy. But also on page 5, when you grab your paper, take a look at page 4 for the previous discussion we had, and the one we're about to have has to do with whether the president is cornered or simply changing tack. And now the article begins that says, for the first time last Thursday, Deputy President William Ruto publicly confessed to being a rich hustler, a total departure from his Hustler Nation mantra that has depicted hustlers as the downtrodden Kenyans whose fortunes he is dedicated to turning around. And it also says Ruto's surprise confession came against the backdrop of what we saw last week with the CS pointing out his premises and all his riches, and of course he came out and said, in fact, you have left out the shares at Safaricom. Now his policies are under attack, according to this article. It says Ruto's action begged a host of questions. Is this a change of tack or gesture of a narrative that is crumbling? I'll pose this one to you, Gloria Roba. Is this a change of tack? Is his narrative falling to pieces?
Before I address that, please allow me to correct Kasim, because when he said we cannot legislate issues to deal with cabinet secretaries and how they can be, taken off the table, I think I'm sure he knows that one of the roles of the National Assembly is to actually have an oversight of the conduct of the Office of the President, the Office of the Deputy President, state appointees, and all civil servants. That is actually, they're supposed to keep the checks and balances. So that is the key thing, and that's why when I say we have to legislate it, it means that it has to start from the National Assembly. But on to your question, I need to correct that the narrative is not crumbling. It's just that people did not really, and let me say the elites did not really understand what the Hustler Nation movement was about. It wasn't about just the poor people. It wasn't about just those who have not. But it was about saying that hard work actually has to be rewarded. So when someone says that a hustler is just that person living in the slums, already that they do not understand the narrative. I believe a banker who wakes up very early in the morning to go and sit at the teller is actually a hustler. I believe, like Jimmy Wanjigi said, that he started off by selling garbage, and now he's a billionaire. I believe he's a hustler. And if you ask me, someone said, I've never seen a hustler who has 257 security or bodyguards or whatever. But that's because we are actually trying to introduce the notion that despite your career, despite the line you have chosen, whether you want to sell garbage like Jimmy Wanjigi or you want to sell chicken as how our deputy president started off, that at one point the hard work can be rewarded,
it should pay off.
At one point the hard work should pay off. So to say that the narrative is crumbling simply because the deputy president, unlike so many, let me say politicians, has come out to say, yes, this is what I own, I have a chicken farm, this is how much it brings. Why are we not asking then the likes of Matiang'i how many security guards he has? Why are we not asking the likes of even that Jimmy Wanjigi? How else did he become a billionaire before he became, was it through just selling garbage and he started with 0 shilling? Why are we focusing, and this is the issue here, you're trying to move the focus from what you should be talking about, which is how do we make those people who work so hard, those people who actually go to the farm, how do we make them become rich hustlers? And that's why when I say, when we're looking at economic, regional economic blueprints, this is what we're looking at. How do we remove the agents, for instance, between the farmer and the market, so that the farmer can actually say, after 5 years of planting tea, I can actually afford to have 3 security guards because now I have so much wealth coming from the hustle that I'm pushing. So at the end of the day, it is not that the narrative is crumbling. It is that we are sensitizing the public that hustlers are not poor people. Hustlers are hardworking people. The only difference is the policies and the things that we have put within government, the environment we have put, does not allow the hustlers to become rich.
Right.
And the few exceptions, and you might want to say the deputy president, but Jimmy Wanjigi is in there. The cabinet secretary Matiang'i is in there. We have few exceptions of hustlers who, despite all odds, have actually been able to break through. And we want that success for every hustler. That is the narrative.
And what you're saying is being echoed rather in this quote here. The former Senator for Kakamega, Boni Khalwale, says, but we want to tell them that hustler simply means those who work hard and eke out a living under very difficult circumstances. Now, far from that, we also have John Buddy, who was reached out to by the reporter on this one, who basically made a comment. He said the Ruto's maneuvers are just political conmanship. According to Buddy, who is the National Assembly minority leader, the DP is a master of doublespeak who twists facts to suit his interests. Do you agree with that, Mr. Gwanda?
Oh, let me tell you. I want to, give or take. I think that those are the opinions. And but one of the things I want to say is I want to pick Gloria from what she just said. And sometimes I listen to Gloria. She says the policy we have put within the government does not make the hustler rich. I like what she says, the policy we have put. I strongly believe that we in her is a deputy president. And if we in her is a deputy president, then I wonder why the deputy president cannot make those policies and change them, him being the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, to help the hustlers to become rich. Secondly, from where I stand linguistically, I don't think hustler is owning billions. That I don't think so. But let me qualify my comment by saying this. Most of these people that are now calling upon the hustler to move to a certain point are now being quantified in terms of billions of dollars, not just Kenyan shillings, billions of dollars. Tricks, they earn money from the government. Tricks, they are stealing money from the government. Tricks, that money should have trickled down to the people. Tricks, we are talking about one man, one vote, 1 shilling in this country. In other words, if I have earned close to 100 billion Kenyan shillings, that 100 billion should have gone to about 100 million people. We haven't even gone that. If everybody will have to get a shilling of that 100 billion. Now, that's a hard discussion that we need to synthesize a little bit. If you want the poor to become the rich, then how would you own 100 billion plus dollars as a single individual? The question is, aren't you taking other monies that otherwise will build the roads, otherwise will build the hospitals, otherwise will have paid workers, otherwise would have given the retirees money in their pocket? Why would you own that kind of money if you will not even be able to use it in 100 years? Yet, very few of us will be able to reach 100 years. The question I am asking today is, if you've owned up and said, I am a rich hustler, and Gloria says you can be a doctor, you can be whatever you are, professional, but still be a hustler. I don't think hustling has anything to do with the profession. I think hustling is the people that are still trying to make it. I wish we will say that we are very rich, but we are dreaming that one day you poor people that are called hustler down there will come up and become rich as we are. But here is what it is. The more rich we want to become, the more poor those hustlers will be, because we'll be taking away from them. When I see the motorcades of the deputy president, and I see the motorcades of some ministers in this country, then you want, and the president, well, then you wonder when those hustlers will be able to afford fuel, they will be able to afford a vehicle. This narrative, I like it that Gloria is saying, because she belongs to the deputy president. She says, I'm the president. I don't think I want to put the president in it. But what I am, I know that for a fact. Let me finish. Let me finish. When I see people running in those convoy of vehicles, and then they tell a bicycle maker besides the road that I want you to be rich, and you're not telling them how to be rich, you're not availing the resources for them to be rich, we're cheating the nation.
I guess the narrative, to play devil's advocate, is that he would set an environment where everyone can rise to the top, like he did. Gloria, you wanted to defend yourself?
I wanted to, it's not really defend myself. You know, there's this assumption that when certain people have believed in an ideology, suddenly when they speak, it is just the deputy president speaking. You know, you can't say that when Orengo opens his mouth, it's Raila Odinga speaking. No, he has a brain of his own. So it's very, I find it very demeaning that... I find it demeaning that if I come here and give my thoughts and my beliefs, then someone thinks I'm holding brief. And at the end of the day, when I was saying we, I meant all the governments that have been in the past, because policies are actually put in place by government. So it's not we, myself and the deputy president. That's the problem. People just need to understand that the ideology has
subscribe to that ideology.
We subscribe to the ideology, but we are independent thinkers.
All right.
Yes.
Mr. Osido, as an independent thinker yourself, what do you make of the attack that, according to this article, the narrative, the policies, the ideologies of the deputy president have come under fire? They have been under attack. Do you think that gives them credence, or do you think they're just pointing out a very shaky foundation?
Tricks, the hustler narrative is punctured. The message is good. We have the wrong messenger. The messenger is carrying an envelope that cannot be received by the people that are expected to receive this envelope. And even if they receive it, opening it to read and consume that message becomes very difficult.
So let me interrupt you. Sorry.
Yes,
so if this packaged narrative was being carried by, let's say, someone like Abduba Dida or the likes, do you think it would land better? Would it be more full? Would it be more solid because he would embody what we imagine to be a hustler?
If this message was to be carried by some random lady somewhere from Elgeyo Marakwet or from Uasin Gishu or from Rarieda or, Taita Taveta, not the Abduba Didas. This is a gentleman who has run for office. This is somebody who has told us I've been teaching in lecture halls. If this message would be carried by some random boda gentleman who has gone to the university and has looked for a job and has failed and has come up and said in 2013, I voted. And I've been sending all these applications and prints out. He's sent emails to all the 142 companies, tricks, because I am in the counties almost every day, including last week in Nakuru, where the deputy president was there, the former prime minister was there talking to citizens. And people who have the real stories of hustlers are not being given that opportunity to speak out. If this young boda gentleman who says, I am actually struggling every day from my sweat to do my master's degree through this boda, if that would be the person who is carrying this message, if this message would be carried by that Mama Mboga out there who is being hustled by the county kanjos every day, who want a cash money and are also carrying a cash system and telling them, you give us 70 shillings, tunakupatia risiti, na hiyo 50 ni yetu for you to stay here. If that would be the messenger tricks, let me tell you that this hustler narrative would sell. But not somebody who shows up in a helicopter. Not somebody who I have to, and many Nairobians have to be stopped between Wilson Airport and Nyayo Stadium because a hustler wants to pass. And this convoy is of such a high priority that when you hear that you are shuffled by police officers on the sides of the road, whether it is the president or the former prime minister or the deputy president or the CS, because we have also seen some errant CSS who are misbehaving on the roads, using their security cars and shuffling Kenyans as if Kenyans are not paying for roads to be constructed in this country. If that narrative would be carried by somebody who does not have 257 askaris and tells us that I have 40,000 shares on Safaricom or whichever company he said, because tricks tell me what it means to do through the central depository system and apply for to be a shareholder in any of the listed companies. It is not for the hustler. Tell me if this hustler, and even a banker, is not a hustler. This is somebody who is waking up every day to do a prescribed job and is waiting for his or her monthly salary.
But this also begs the question, who would carry that narrative successfully? Because when you talk about if someone random from Rarieda would come up to speak for the hustler, would Kenyans actually listen and rally behind that person?
That is why I'm going to treat.
Or is it someone who has allegedly or apparently been through that experience and then risen up?
The people we are calling hustlers today are
Yes.
people who have been in the system. They have been built by the system. They have failed to create the opportunity for these random people to come up. So,
Yes.
for instance, when His Excellency the President launched the SMEs policy at Strathmore, the top hustler narrator was absent. He's his deputy president. There is no day a government will carry money in sacks and take to people and tell them what I heard being said, we want to give people money by rewarding their hard work. That reward to hard work is ensuring that there is an amicable environment to do business.
But isn't that what the deputy president is pushing?
He is in the government. He should not be pushing.
He should have done it
Yes,
already.
he should be implementing it, not
I'd
pushing
like to
for
bring
it
in Honorable
from
Tandaza.
outside.
I'd like to bring in Honorable Tandaza to actually weigh in on this very heated conversation. The deputy president's policies and ideologies are coming under fire, and there's something else that's being pointed out on page 5 of the Standard this morning. It says it had also reached a point where the DP and his political backers are no longer enthusiastic in defending themselves against ills leveled against them, including engaging in corrupt deals. Instead, they have adopted a finger-pointing approach that reflects on their "we are not the only ones" attitude. That's a direct quote from this article on page 5. What do you make of this? Mheshimiwa, I think you are muted. Could you please unmute your device?
Oh, thank you.
There you go.
Six, if I'm poor and I would want to get rich, who is this person to advise me to get rich? It should be a rich person,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yes.
If I want to learn piloting, certainly I'll go for an expert pilot to teach me piloting. I will not be learning piloting from my peer right in the village in Kwale to tell me how to fly an aeroplane. So for me, the deputy president, with his riches, and for that matter, any other leader, not only the deputy president, could it be my party leader, Musalia, or whoever is there, Wanjigi, they are actually the right people to tell those below how to come up. The problem is that they skip very essential milestones, and this happens even in motivational speakers. If you attend to them, you'll find them, they'll tell you, I started by 1 bob, and now here I'm a millionaire. So it is very unfortunate that they skip very good milestones. If Jimmy Wanjigi says that he started by garbage collection, yes, he could have done garbage collection, but you cannot ignore the fact, the connections that he had, right from his family up to how he got that tender of garbage collection. He does not tell the poor how to get that tender. He just said that you start by garbage collection and you are there. If a poor man wants to do garbage collection with the counties, we know very well that tender is quite highly rated. The poor man, the ordinary mwananchi can't get that tender. Certainly it will go to somebody who is very well known to the governor, and if it's a tender, national tender, it will be given to somebody who is very well known by cabinet secretary or whoever is at the top there. Those are the things that these people are not telling us. I agree. Even me, I came from a very poor background. I would agree that the deputy president could have come from there.
Yes.
But telling people that you are rich because you are selling eggs, I think that is escaping, at least not being very truthful. Yes, you can sell eggs, but surely, even if you get 1.5 million in a day, you should also tell us about the cost of getting that 1.5 million. Certainly, you can. The 1.5 million is not profit. You can actually sell eggs and run into a loss. That is a business, and that's how businesses are. So, for me, I think from where I sit as leader, as we try to motivate people or to tell people how to come up, we should be very truthful to them. Certainly, there is no way the ordinary person will get rich by the current talk that we are having about the hustler narrative and whatever. If it's about funds going to the local mwananchi, we have several funds. We have a Wezo fund, we have youth fund, we have women fund, we can count those funds. But they don't benefit them because of the corruption in between there. Those funds, for one to get them, you find that the CEOs actually form their own youth groups. If it comes to the quota, tenders for the youth or tenders for women, it is the men, those who have the resources, who try to nominate some few, put in some ladies' names in a company and pretend that this company is for a woman so that they can award those tenders to themselves. Yeah. That's the problem. When it is youth, it is the same. We get youths who are hired to form companies, but essentially they end up with 50,000, 10,000 commission, and that tender is actually done from Nairobi by the CS, by the CEO of that organization. So, and that is why I started by saying we cannot legislate everything. It will reach a point where probably it is one's consciousness, it is one's ethics from inside, not from outside, that will help this country. If, and I would want to conclude from where I think we are also not being, I don't know whether we are very short-sighted when it comes to memory. The deputy president agree right now. Let me put it very plainly, though I'm in NC, I can see what is happening in the government. The deputy president, I would agree right now, he could not be able to execute those policies. But this Jubilee government, the government of the deputy president and the president did not start in 2017. It started in 2013.
Yes.
And for the first 5 years, let's be honest, that this government, the president and the deputy president were intended. If anything, most people believe that the deputy president was actually running the show. Did we see this policy? Were the youth any better? Were the government projects being done any better? Is there anything we can say that within the 5 years, this happened better than what is happening now? The answer is no. So when it comes to politics, of course, everybody will come with his own narrative, will come with his own slogan, will come with his own running call, be it ethnic, be it anything. Those ones will come to be. But for sure, there was, I would have wanted to have said, well, when they were together, things were working better. We could go on and on, ask, where were the stadiums that were promised, where the 1 million jobs were within the first 5 years before we go to this. But of course now, it's all about the succession politics. That is why I'm saying it is also upon the ordinary Mwananchi, the so-called that is going to be assisted. It's high time they actually do their own needs assessment and see with this person that is going to put us in a better position. To me, you only need to handle two things. One, the issue of corruption, so that whatever is intended to reach, whoever is intended goes there. Two, of course, we have the monster of the debt that is actually going to suffocate this country, and this country means the ordinary Mwananchi. And I'm now worried as a politician going to 2022 for the general election. Are we not going to again go back to our violence after every 5 years? Because that is another way that destroys the economy of this country and actually destroyed the ordinary Mwananchi that we're talking about. So policies or no policies, those are the issues that people should be addressing if we are really interested in elevating the position of the common Mwananchi.
All right, which brings us back to the question, is this a change of tack or a gesture of a narrative that is crumbling? Very briefly, because it's time for a commercial break.
He said, what did he do in his first term when they were actually, you know, in good... First of all, it is wrong for you to say that they didn't do anything. They were trying to address the issue of unemployment through affordable housing. That's when we saw the Big Four agenda under the affordable housing being pushed, and that was to create jobs right before the handshake. And when you look at what William Ruto has been very instrumental in terms of the TVET industry, and that was in the first term. He invested and he pushed a lot of resources and policies to make sure that the TVET institutions have actually been put in a place that it was the youth would actually be interested in going to the TVET spaces. And when you say who would be a better person to carry the narrative of the hustler, that is a question that I want to answer. You know, you have a person here who went to Kerotet Primary School and then to Warren Secondary School, not to St. Mary's School, not to St. Mary's. And then his father went ahead to get his A-levels in Kapsabet Boys and then to Nairobi University, not to Amherst College in the United States of America. His first home when he came from the village was in Dagoretti North, not in State House. Okay, his first job, aside from preaching on the streets and when they did the chicken selling, was not his first job was not as an appointed minister. His first job was not as an appointed member of parliament. So who then should carry this narrative? A person who grew up in State House, or a person who has actually?
Unfortunately, we have run out of time.
We have to remember that YK92. He was part of YK92.
He was part of YK92.
Where a lot of money was stolen, and this country lost a lot of money as a result of this. So if we are not talking about where the money started coming from, then we are deceiving ourselves.
That also sits well with those who have, you know, what we call the founding fathers, and the land issues and the disputes that we have, and the monopoly of milk.
So
we cannot be handpicking
we take this commercial break.
This is why I told you that the people that we are forcing to carry the hustler message are the wrong messengers. Let's stop looking at people who have grabbed land.
You can't disqualify someone's hustle.
Take a short.
Let me just finish.
You cannot disqualify his hustle just because it doesn't look like yours.
There are people who have gone to worse schools and are still going to those worse schools.
Doesn't mean that
and we are talking CBC today. A CBC that His Excellency the Deputy President is the Deputy President with policies that are not working.